A very warm welcome to Eye on Africa. These are our headlines this Wednesday evening. Mali is expelling the spokesman of the UN's peacekeeping force in the country. This in the latest sign of tensions between the military junta in Bamako and the international community. More on that coming up. And in Kenya, the four main running mates in the upcoming presidential election took part in a debate on Tuesday night. We'll take a look at some highlights. And Tunisia is grappling with wheat shortages due to Ukrainian imports being impacted by the war. We'll take a look at possible solutions to those import disruptions later on in the bulletin. Thanks for watching. I'm James Creedon. Now we start tonight's show in Mali, where the Foreign Ministry said on Wednesday it is expelling the spokesman for the UN's peacekeeping mission there. This over posts he made on Twitter about a diplomatic incident with Ivory Coast. Now, that diplomatic incident has soured relations between Mali and the United Nations. The announcement came just days after the Malian authorities arrested 49 Ivorian soldiers, it later described as mercenaries, intent on toppling the country's military-led government. Shirley Sitpon unpacks that story.
Olivier Salgado, the spokesperson of the UN peacekeeping mission in Mali, is no longer wanted in Bamako. Local authorities have given him 72 hours to leave over tweets they say are unacceptable and biased. A diplomatic dispute that started 10 days ago with the arrest of 49 Ivorian soldiers. For Malian authorities, the military are mercenaries who arrived illegally in the country.
They were arrested immediately, and their weapons, ammunition, and equipment were seized.
Ivory Coast rejected the accusation. The military were logistical support forces deployed legally and as planned with the UN. Olivier Salgado backed the Ivorian position in a series of tweets, saying Malian authorities had been informed of the men's deployment. Relations had turned tense over recent months between Mali's military leadership and its international partners deployed in the country to help bring back stability and security. Early 2022, authorities forced French troops to pull out of the country. On July 14th, they suspended UN peacekeepers' rotations.
Now, in Kenya, protests over the soaring cost of living combined with a call for a boycott of the upcoming election have been met with political measures. President Uhuru Kenyatta has ordered that the price of maize flour be slashed by more than half. Indeed, cost of living was one of the major issues discussed on Tuesday night during a debate between the four main running mates or deputy president candidates. The Deputy President's debate took place, as you can see there, on Tuesday night. The event saw the candidates answer a variety of questions put to them by Kenyans from different walks of life. Our correspondent Vivian Wandera tells us more.
The debate was held in two separate parts. The first part was between Ruth Mutua and Justina Wamae, candidates from two smaller parties. Now, the second part of the debate drew a lot of attention from Kenyans who tuned in large numbers to watch the face-off between Deputy President William Ruto's running mate Rigathi Gachagua and former opposition leader Raila Odinga's running mate Martha Karua. The candidates sold their manifestos but also discussed the cost of living, which has taken center stage during the campaigns. The candidates agreed that the government collects enough money from taxes to help reduce the prices of basic commodities. For some Kenyans, this debate actually helped them decide who they're going to vote for.
Gachagua pia alikuwa sawa, si ati alikuwa chini sana. Alikuwa sawa juu alikuwa anaulizwa, anaongea venye inafaa. Pande ya kupiga kura sasa nilibadilisha jana.
Debate ilikuwa mzuri, lakini Martha Karua alishinda kwa maoni yangu.
Kwa nini alishinda?
Kwa sababu alituelezea vile economy iko juu, atatupeleka economy kwa chini. Alafu ataketi jobs for the youth. Alafu hata sisi watu wa jokali ametengea nafasi.
During the debate, the two candidates also accused each other of massive corruption, which led to them declaring the sources of their wealth and also declaring how much they are worth. The role of the government in Odinga's campaign was also brought up, forcing Martha to go in the defensive and said that she is not a state project, but the people's project. Now, the last part of the debate is set to be held on the 26th of July, and it will be the presidential debate. But candidate William Ruto has stated he will not attend, citing media bias.
Time now for some other news stories in brief from across the continent. The death toll from ethnic clashes in Sudan has risen to 105. 291 more have been injured in the Blue Nile state, which borders Ethiopia and South Sudan. Those clashes broke out on the 11th of July between members of the Berti and Hausa ethnic groups. The UN says that more than 17,000 people have fled their homes due to the fighting. Regional Hausa leader Mohamed Noureddin said he believed the death toll will rise further. US President Joe Biden has announced he will welcome African leaders to Washington in December to build ties with the continent, where China's influence has been rising. Biden did not specify the guest list for the Africa Summit. The last major summit with African leaders was held in 2014 in Washington, with notable exclusions from the guest list: Central African Republic, Eritrea, Sudan and Zimbabwe, not invited because of human rights considerations. The leader of Tunisia's main opposition party, Ennahda, has been freed after being questioned by the country's counter-terrorism unit. He's suspected of money laundering and terrorism financing through an association charity. And Rached Ghannouchi's detention led to angry protests, with some accusing the government of a political arrest. Now, Nigeria's President Muhammadu Buhari has given the country's education and labour ministers 2 weeks to end a prolonged lecturers' strike. The country's academic staff union of universities asked its members to skip work on the 14th of February, and many have not returned since then. Sam Olakoya has more.
Public universities have been shut down in the past 5 months following a strike by 4 university-based workers' unions. The workers want improved funding for universities and implementation of some agreements reached with the government in the past. Series of meetings between the university workers and government officials have ended in deadlock. It is unclear how President Buhari wants the minister to end the strike. President Buhari's order to end the strike comes as Nigerian workers prepared for 2 days of nationwide protest against the protracted closure of the universities. Strike by university workers who want improved conditions in the institutions are common. A strike in 2020 lasted more than 9 months. Students and lecturers say the universities are in poor state. Nigerian public universities lack basic facilities. Many people have questioned the quality of students graduating from the universities. Politicians are accused of sending their children to schools abroad while they do nothing to improve the state of education in Nigeria.
Sam Olakoya there. Now, in Tunisia, about 80% of wheat is imported, nearly half of that from Ukraine. With the war wreaking havoc on supplies, the country is hoping its own hard wheat harvest is good this year while looking for new import markets. But changing the country's food strategy isn't easy at a time when it's experiencing financial and political crises. Lila Blaise, Hamdi Talili and Fadil Aliriza report.
At this flour mill in the capital, these machines process tons of wheat into flour and semolina every day. The war in Ukraine has disrupted imports of soft wheat used for flour. Millers say locally grown hard wheat varieties need to be used instead.
The Durham wheat industry is used for pasta and other household necessities. Bakers also make bread from it, so it's a great substitute for flour, especially in rural areas where they consume more semolina bread than flour bread.
Tunisia would like to double its hard wheat production in 2023, but paying farmers more didn't lead to more wheat planting last season.
This harvest was partially successful. Here, we're in front of a field, which is quite beautiful. But there are regions where there's nothing, like Zagouan, which are the traditional grain regions. Also south of Kef, where our colleagues are suffering the effects of drought, but also from failures to distribute seeds and fertilizers in time.
Many farmers are giving up on grain farming.
In order to go back to grain growing and doing it well, you need to work with farmers on all fronts: credits, prices, support.
Without reforms, there will be a high cost of dependence on imports, especially during an economic crisis. The country needs to borrow $500 million to guarantee its grain stock this year.
Now, Montreal might be 4,000 kilometres from the nearest African shoreline, but the city will be at the very heart of African beats for 2 weeks. Les Nuits d'Afrique Festival, or African Nights Festival, is taking place for the first time since the pandemic in Montreal. Around 700 artists are participating, with 150 different concerts taking place in the city up to the 24th of July. It's the 36th edition of the festival, which focuses on African and Caribbean music. Now, amongst the artists performing are Amadou and Mariam, Tikenja Fakoli and Alpha Blondie. We're going to leave you tonight with these sounds from Mokhtar Gania and Ganawa Soul. Thanks for watching and good night.